Hi, I'm Hans Wilhelm, and in this video in the Life Explained series I would like to talk about the ego. Now there are many different interpretations given by various experts, but I like to concentrate on the origin and the spiritual side of the ego, and I think you may find it very interesting. As always, we have to remember who we are. We are spiritual beings, or also called souls. Now that's the best spiritual being I could do now. And as such we have a very flexible ethereal body that can easily move in the spiritual and the semi-material and the material worlds. But in the material worlds, like here on earth, it can only be an observer. It cannot really interact with the dense material environment. And if the soul wants to fully interact with the minerals, the plants, or the animal kingdoms, there we have a little piggy, or even with other human beings, the soul needs a body armor to survive in this dense vibration. Sort of, it's like, similar like these old diving suits they had, where you remember with this air hose to the boat for deep sea diving. It's a pressure suit. And this diving suit is our physical body. That's why we have incarnated into a body of bones and flesh. Our physical body is our vehicle to be able to move around here on earth. Very much like we use a car to move around town. But it's very difficult for a soul to find itself in such a coarse and heavy and clumsy body armor. Of course, souls that have incarnated many times are used to this body, but there are lots of new souls as well who incarnate for the first time. And for them it's very, very difficult to move around in this thing and to also take care of it. But here is where Mother Nature comes in with an ingenious feature and device. You remember all the electronics in your car that tell you when you are running low on gas or on brake fluid and all the other dangers, all these little lights that warn us? Well, our body armor has got the same kind of feature. It's the mind that tells our soul when to eat, it's a little apple here, on when to rest, or when there is danger, like falling off the cliff. It makes sure that the body will stay healthy and fit and serve us until we no longer need it and can return to the spiritual world. And this little mind that helps us to keep our body in shape is called the ego. Originally the ego was only concerned with the well-being of the physical body. It's a great device if you come to think about it. But over hundreds of years and many, many incarnations, the souls forgot who they were and began to identify with their physical body. They thought they are their body. And the lure, the attraction of this physical body are the five senses. These five senses were only meant to be a tool, but they became soon the focal point for many souls and the main reason to incarnate into this world. And the more the souls began to identify with their bodies, the more they began to crave for the fulfillment of certain pleasures, which they could do only via the five senses of the physical body. They fell deeply into sensuality. Wow. And of course the most obvious one was the sense of touch, which is mostly enjoyed as sex. Originally sex was designed for procreation and an expression of love for somebody we cared for. But now look what has happened. Our identification with our body and our addiction to sex has created this big sex industry. A brutal world with pornography, abuse, abductions of women and children, prostitution, organized crime. We are using other human beings only for the satisfaction of our sensuality. And another typical example is the sense of taste, originally meant to help us to differentiate between healthy and poisonous food. But now it became the main focus for many. We were no longer satisfied with plant diet. We began to devour other beings of flesh and bones, purely for the pleasure, for the sensuality. And as you know, our body isn't built for that as a carnivore, like a tiger. It doesn't have these special glands in the stomach to digest flesh, or these very short intestines to quickly eliminate the decaying food. And as a result, of course, we have created a huge animal farm industry. Oh boy. Here our four-legged and winged brothers and sisters are kept under horrendous conditions. I was actually going to add a few images of animal farming to this video, but the images are too gruesome to show. But we all know about it. And yet we continue this crime only for the gratification of our sensual pleasures of taste. Only for our bodily pleasure. Flesh has no value to our body. On the contrary, we know it's even harmful. Now think of all the large vegan and vegetarian societies on this planet that have been living a much healthier diet for thousands of years. Now, eating no longer was a way to maintain our body, which was originally planned. It now becomes our national pastime. We are continuously stuffing our face. Whether we are in the streets, in the cinemas, or throughout the day, we do it all because our body runs us and not the other way around. And as a result, as a society, we have become obese. We want more and more. This little ego here has now become the big ego. And it wants more and more. And this ego, of course, has also made us greedy. Greed. The ego is making us greedy, and suddenly the idea of scarcity comes over us because we believe we are our body. But we remember Gandhi's famous word, there is enough on this earth for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed. And now out of this comes fear and worry. Fear and worry. They come from the ego. Our higher self doesn't know fear and worries because it knows it's eternal and linked directly to God. But our body is afraid, and fear is of the earth, as Edgar Cayce reminds us, because the body knows it has a limited lifespan and it's very fragile. So it gives us fear and worry. And to get what it wants, we do not even hesitate killing other human beings. Booms. Just so that we can get their resources, like food, land, oil, and you name it. All for the survival and comfort of our body. That's right. Basically, all our wars are done for the survival and comfort of our physical bodies. Our big ego has now not only taken over our body, but also our psyche. It rules us. We have become a puppet of our ego. Remember what ego stands for? Edging God out? God, the source energy, has never forgotten us or given up on us. It has constantly given us guidance, inspiration, intuition via our soul, which some people call the sixth sense. But who is carefully listening to this guidance? Very few. Most of us have forgotten who we are in truth. We have given up listening to our inner voice that guides us. Instead, we are listening to our bloated ego, and subsequently, we are run by fear and worry. Nothing will change until we begin to remember who we are. That wonderful spiritual being that is imprisoned in this body that has run amok by our ego. And the more we know about the spiritual laws and use them, the sooner we can set this guy free. set our soul free.